I'm a believer, and I believe in God because, I'm still open to everything. I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, but I'm open. Whatever is going to make sense to me, I'm going to follow. I'm not going to be a believer because this is what I've been told. I like to discuss stuff and open my mind and think about it.
Okay, cool.
First, before we get to this discussion, I want to ask every believer who calls the show not to use the Bible as an evidence of the existence of God, because the Bible means nothing to a person who does not believe in God. So either the Bible is correct or the Bible is not real. In either case, the Bible cannot be used as an evidence of anything. Anybody can write whatever they want to write to prove their point. So the Bible can be one of these books. So I want them, if they try to call, the show, do not use the Bible, do not use any, supernatural thing. It can be hallucination. It can be, attributed to anything or explained by anything other than a real evidence. I have a degree in science, and have been working in science for 20 years, 25 years. So I really go what evidence is or what makes sense to me. Maybe it is almost clear, but I think that makes sense to me that God exists. Same time, it does not make sense to you. I have to respect you. You have to respect me, and we're good, but I'm not going to push you to believe in God through my book, because my book means nothing to you. So I just asking, whoever caller or believer who calls, just save your time and save the show time and focus in the point, not to prove something that is supernatural or something through the Bible.
So what reason should somebody believe?
Okay, that's the reason I am calling. Like I said, I'm gonna express with you what made me believe in God. I'm not gonna talk about Christianity at all, because that's not the point. I just want to know, does God exist or no? If he does exist, then we'll go forward and see which God to believe in. And if he does not exist, then I do not care about all this religion in the world. So I'm going to discuss with you what makes me believe in the presence of God.
Okay.
And you can tell me I am correct or I'm wrong. First, you hear me good, right?
Yes.
Okay, first, every time when somebody calls, he asks them the proof of the existence of God. And from that point, the people start thinking about the answer. Everybody does this. But no one ever thinks of the question itself. The proofs about the existence of God, or proofs that God exists. What a proof is. I need to think about the question first before I get to an answer. What a proof is. For myself as a scientist, and I'm going to ask you this question. Do you believe, do you agree, Matt, do you agree with me that you and I and many other people believe in things, real things in our life, although we never or no one ever sees them? I will try to see the question a different way. Like you and I, you yourself believe in things that you never see in your life, and no one else other than you have ever seen it. But you believe in it, I believe in it, other people believe in it. And when I say seen, I mean visual.
Yes.
Like somebody, they believe.
Yes.
So you agree with me that you believe in things that you've never seen?
Yes.
Correct. So this is one thing. So the idea of proving that God exists because we have to see him, that's not a proof.
Agreed.
Because, right? Agreed. Because, God could be there, but without anybody sees him. So the fact that we have to see him or make any visual thing with him is not a proof. He might exist, although no one ever see him. Agree with me?
Yes.
Good. So that saves a lot of time for me, and that's great. Then I go to the next step with, let's say, about I always love the background that you have like the background of your show, with these buildings, like the downtown style. When I look at one of these buildings, I know there is an engineer. For sure, there is an engineer behind every building of those. I'm sure.
Do you know why when you look at those buildings?
Correct. Yeah, because those, I'm telling you why. Because I know there is an engineer, because 100 or 200 years ago, this building did not exist. And there is an evidence, there is somebody with a name, and somebody watches this person building this building. So this building, 100 years or 200 years ago, in this location, there was no building.
Yeah, but that's not why.
Okay, what else?
It's because you have mountains of direct evidence of people designing buildings and zero evidence of buildings forming naturally.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I agree with you 100% about this too.
Okay.
I agree about this. Now, for somebody science, and like I said from the beginning, we might end the call is that you cannot convince me, I cannot convince you, but at least, we are discussing the evidence. For somebody...
Well, we haven't discussed any evidence yet.
We going, like, I'm getting to the next one now. Like, since we agree that God does not have somebody have to see him, that's not an evidence. What other proofs? Then we're going to see the effect. Like, I use the building as an example. For myself, as a scientist, I have a law in science that we follow. Energy and matter cannot be created, and the word created does not mean created by a God or not God. The word created means, like when I'm talking to you now, I cannot create a matter, I cannot create an energy. So energy and matter cannot be created, they cannot be destroyed.
Right.
Whatever the theories that we have today, which is the most one, which is the Big Bang theory, whatever the thing is that was from the beginning, it was a matter, it was an energy, it was an electron or proton, you name it, with any scientist you want to discuss it with. He's going to tell you there was something, and from this something came everything. While the same theories that I've been told in schools, and all the people who's listening to us now being told, is that energy and matter cannot be created. We cannot bring them. So what's the explanation for a scientist like myself that can explain to him where these things came from? If the same science that I use, they say that there is no physical evidence in this time when I'm talking to you now that proves something that come out in our nature or in our universe by itself. And same thing, it cannot go to a complete destruction. So for me to believe that God does not exist, I need to find an answer from any scientist.
You've already made a mistake.
Okay, show me the mistake.
You said for you to believe that God does not exist. The point isn't to believe that God does not exist. The issue is there good reason to believe that God does exist? And until such time as there's good reason, you should not believe. And so when you look at the origins of the universe, for which we don't have any sort of necessary concrete explanation, we don't know what would have happened before, or if before is even a sensible question. It would seem to me that if you began with matter and energy could not be created or destroyed, they can only change form, then you would have to reach the conclusion that whatever the explanation is for the change in state that resulted in what we describe with Big Bang cosmology right now, whatever it was, it already existed, that essentially there was something there, that we don't have a case of something from nothing, we have a case of something from something, and we just have a barrier beyond which we can't look. And even if you reach the conclusion that that wasn't possible, you still have no explanation for it. You don't get to say, oh, I can't think of anything else, therefore God is the explanation.
I agree with you.
Okay, if you agree with me, then why did we talk about buildings? Why did we talk about energy and matter when neither of those can lead to the conclusion that a God exists?
Correct. Because we have two things. It's either one of them. There is no third reason. Either God exists or God does not exist. There's not a third thing.
Correct.
So,
but that's independent. That's independent. It's true.
That's independent, but
Mike.
Go ahead.
It's true that either God X exists or God X does not exist. Those are the only two options. I agree. That is completely independent of whether or not we have good reason to believe that a God exists, or whether we have good reason to believe that no God exists.
Correct. From a person, this is the difference between one person to another. One person.
No. It's not just. This is not just a difference of person between one person and another. This is about whether or not there is sufficient evidence to reach a conclusion.
Yes, that's what it says. This is the thing. It's one person. Because, by the way, this is in science too. This is a math. There is something called that when you start something, you get with the error and try. So here, when you go on error and try, is it the error and try in this situation?
I have no idea what you just said.
Think, okay, the error and try is try to see I do something and see what's the error. And from the error that I get, I try to fix it and reach to the next
error on try.
Yeah, correct. So now, for a person like myself, I want to know. I want to find out, does God exist or does not exist? I want to get an answer.
Yes. How do you do that? Now that we're 20 minutes into this call, how do you do that?
Like I said, doing this, I asked my first question. Is there is an explanation? Right now, I hear two people talking. An atheist, when I ask him this question about the universe, the first question that I ask, I have other questions. The first question when I ask an atheist, the atheist has no answer to it.
So what? So what?
Correct. So what? That's it. This is the answer I'm looking for you. So what? But when I ask a believer, he tell me, yeah, because the reason there is a creator.
That doesn't make the answer right.
Well, it does not make it an absolute answer.
It doesn't make it correct at all. It could be made up bullshit. The fact that somebody says they have an explanation for something doesn't tell you whether or not it's correct. So how do you get to the point? How do you get to the point to reach the conclusion that their explanation is correct?
Okay. Now, when we're taking the explanation, either it is correct or not, our real question, how we taking it is correct. When you are sitting down right now in a desk, talking through a microphone, made up same material as you and I are made of. Some electrons, some atoms, same thing like you and I does. Is it immoral? To break the microphone you're speaking through? Is it immoral to break the desk you're sitting through? Of course, no. But it's immoral to kill a person and sometimes to kill animal or plant. So what is the difference? If this is material and this is the same material, if we're talking about absolute material, this is the material. We are made of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, water, blah, blah, blah. Those material in front of you made of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, blah, 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 blah. Why it is not immoral to break a microphone and break a human? What's inside the human?
Nothing.
That is not nothing.
Nothing.
Okay?
Nothing. Here's the thing. So here you've gone down yet another track. All I'm trying to do is, you start with the origin of the universe, and people say, hey, the atheists don't have an explanation for it, but the theists do. And we point out that may not be correct. So we then ask you, how do you go about determining if that's correct? And then you go off on a thing about morality. Okay? But that is Jesus fucking Christ.
Not the morality.
That is a completely different discussion.
Okay, can you answer me why you cannot break what's in a man in the creation of a human? I don't want to say the word.
There is nothing about a human being. You have. Oh my God! Can I finish?
Finish.
This is about the basic foundation of what morality is, and morality is about assessing the actions of individuals with respect to the consequences that they have on thinking beings. Morality is something that we make up. All we're really concerned about is the well-being of thinking creatures, and this is determined by the physical facts of the universe. That if you cut off my head, it's not in my best interests. If you feed me a well-balanced diet, it is in my best interest. But also it could be immoral for me to break this microphone, by the way, and this desk, since I don't own them. They belong to somebody else. So now I'm doing harm to somebody else and somebody else's property by doing that. You have oversimplified morality, and your entire diversion here is when we ask, how do you tell whether or not these people are correct when they say they have an answer for the explanation of the universe? You then shift to, oh, there must be something special about humans that allows for morality. Yes, it's called a brain and empathy.
And what does that have to do with how the universe was?
The brain and the empathy. Great. I'm going to use the same words that used in other shows before. If I create you a robot who has a very good brain, like we make inside it a brain that is going to think as a man.
Yes.
Still,
and hang on, this is easy. It may be the case that artificial intelligence and robots get to a point where they are part of the moral equation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But till now, till today, till this happened, till this take place, and I see it, and we all experience it around us. If you own this microphone, you can really, thank you for using this example, because you did not own the microphone, so it's not more. You can own a microphone.
Yes.
You can break it, but you cannot own a human.
Sure. Well, technically you legally can. It's immoral to do so, but it's not just about ownership. The fact that it's somebody else's property is what necessarily made that wrong. There are other things where it might be nobody's property and it may be still wrong. But now you brought up artificial intelligence, and I pointed out I could create a robot, and if it was sufficiently advanced that we considered it an independent, autonomous thinking agent, it may then enter the moral equation. And the fact that I created the robot doesn't change whether or not I can do things with it with respect to morality.
Correct, but this is the end. The end of this question is: you do not believe that humans have life inside them?
No.
What?
Life isn't a thing that is inside. Life is a description.
Okay, what's inside the human different than the microphone in front of you? If you talk about chemistry, we're made of the same material.
Well, no, we're not made of the same material, because my chemistry is made up of self-replicating DNA and a number of other processes that don't exist in a microphone.
But the DNA, as I said, your DNA is made up of a nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen. A microphone is made up from those materials the same. So even your DNA, when it created, it did not create, there is nothing in the periodic table called DNA. There is a nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon get together to create the DNA. So this DNA made up of material is just because some material get together, made something called a microphone.
Yes.
Some material came together, made a human.
Yes. And so what? How does this get us any closer to the thing that I've been asking you for 25 minutes about whether or not there's a God?
That's what I said. In the beginning of my call, I said, I believe in God because there are more things. When you say about the evidence, what evidence now?
You have not presented evidence for a God.
That's why I'm asking you, Matt, now, what an evidence for you means. If you believe that a visual thing is not an evidence, an effect that you do not see, but there is an effect around us. Like you cannot explain.
What effect? What effect? Michael, what effect are you seeing? What effect are you observing that you are claiming is best explained by a God?
I saw two things. I saw two effects that we have. Until today, it's never been explained by an atheist, but can be explained by...
No, it can't. No, it can't. No, it can't. I cannot believe you're an actual scientist saying this.
So
you observe something. You observe, Michael, you observe something, and you say it can't be explained by an atheist, but it can be explained by a theist. No. You observe something, and it either has an explanation or it doesn't. The fact that somebody claims that they have an explanation does not mean that they have an explanation. I asked you specifically, what is it that you have observed that is actually explained by a God, such that it would lead you to the conclusion that there's a God? Last chance or I'm hanging up. What is it?
Okay, this last chance before you hang up, so you can, you can make it clear to me. So next time when I make another...
There's not going to be a next time if you stall for 10 more seconds.
Okay, what an evidence mean to you? What the evidence mean?
I just asked you a question.
Yeah, what's the evidence? I'm asking you what the evidence or what the proof is so I can look it up. If it is not visual, what else you look for?
Well, you're trying to explain to us what convinces you that there's a God that exists, because having an answer, an ancient Greek would give you an answer to how lightning comes about, is that
lightning is something that we can see.
But Zeus throws lightning bolts was their explanation. Does that mean that there's a Zeus?
No, that's a meaning. Okay, when you say Zeus exists or does not exist, is it because somebody saw?
No, why are you so hung up? Imagine that I'm fucking blind. Why are you so hung up on one of our senses? I'm talking about observations, evidence to support a conclusion, and you keep going back to whether or not you can see it.
We never said that we have to see something to accept.
I acknowledge that from the get-go.
So what else other than seeing? Tell me so I understand, and the people, the color, and what others that can consider to you to be an evidence. If something that you can see is not an evidence.
No, I didn't say, Michael, I didn't say, this is so fucking confusing. I didn't say that something you can see cannot be evidence. Of course something you can see can be evidence. There are all sorts of evidence. Any information that enters my brain that is accessible and confirmable counts as evidence. But the question isn't whether or not, or what counts as evidence. It is what evidence is sufficient to reach the conclusion that a God exists. And I've been asking and asking and asking and asking, and you have yet to present even an outline of what evidence would.
This is the same.
Goodbye.
We're just asking you, as a man of science, what convinced you, and we could never get a straight answer out of you.
It was, let me give you another lecture on another diversion. Hey, we went
microphones aren't people, and
correct,
and theists have an answer to how the universe came about. But
correct, they have a response.